When I talk about how difficult and how complex this is, many years ago when I was in New Orleans, I was very blessed because there was this woman named Sunny Norman, and she was Mrs. P.R. Norman. She was the chairman of the board of New Orleans Art Museum. And her brother worked with my dad in California. So when I moved to New Orleans, she called me up and told me that she was going to adopt me because I was far away from my family. And what a charming, lovely, wonderful woman. We became friends. I mean, you can be nice and introduce and do all of that, but friendship is friendship. I liked her. And I think she liked me. Well, she called me up one day and she said, Susan, I want you to become a docent of the museum. What's that? You'll be part of the museum. You're helping people when they come into the museum. You give tours. You do all these things. You're going to become a docent, okay? Basically, that was the conversation. So I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, good, because now you're going to chair a committee. Okay. Yes, Andy Warhol's coming to the museum. He's bringing the basement of the Met, and I want you to chair the committee of women who will help him. Okay. So now you have to be at the museum next week. Okay. 9 o'clock. Okay. So I arrive at the museum, and the board of directors is there. And so is this gentleman, this gray-haired man in a banker's suit with his attaché case, who opened everything up and began talking. It was Andy Warhol. So I'm meeting a businessman doing contracts with the richest people in town. This means business people that know what they're doing. And guess what? He knew what he was doing. First lesson. Second lesson, we go downstairs. The meeting's over. We go downstairs. And he talks to me and he tells me, well, you're chairing the committee that's going to be helping me. I will be sending you publicity. And I'll send you the dates that I need you to get it out for me. And I'm going to be sending you this, and I'm going to be sending you that. And then I'll be coming, and when I come, I'm going to need you and your committee to help me mount the show. And I went, great. He's also down there in the main atrium, this big room that you enter the museum into this huge room. And this is where he's going to mount this show. So he's got the curatorial director there. And the curatorial director's talking with him, and he's talking about lighting, he's talking about floor plan, he's talking about walls, the measurements of all the walls, and they're handing him all this information. He's being an interior designer. Bottom line, an interior designer, right then. Another lesson to learn. He leaves. During the course of the year, he sends me things, faithfully, punctually, correctly. I know exactly what to do because Mrs. Norman helps me to know exactly what to do. Then he arrives. Now, before him arrives the exhibit. And the museum is shut down for a week because these huge crates have filled this room. Here comes the guy with the sweatshirt and tennis shoes and his jeans, dressed just like all the rest of us. And those guys in the orange suits, they're going to be doing all the heavy work. He worships. He treats them like they're gods. And these ladies that are going to help him are beyond important to him. Another lesson learned. Very important lesson. We start breaking everything open. We start putting stuff up. Over here, over there, just like this. Move that light. No, quarter of an inch. That's perfect. How to mount a show. Very important lesson learned. In the midst of all this, every day he hauls us all out because the weather's gorgeous. It's New Orleans, come on, and it's like the end of November. So we're all, the end of November, and we're all out there sitting on the grass, just, basking in this wonderful, lovely, deep south warm weather, which I'm sure he's enjoying immensely because he's from New York. And he brings us lunch every day. We picnic out there with him. It's wonderful fun. But one of those days, he said, Susan, come on over here. You and I are going to eat lunch alone. I said, really? He said, yeah, come on. And I thought, well, I chaired the committee, Sure. So I sit down with him and he says, okay, Mrs. Norman tells me that you're quite the artist. And I went, really? It's a little embarrassing because I know good and well I'm not, but I'm too young. But anyway, he's so sweet, and he says, and she's asked me to help you, to advise you. So he said, here's what I want to tell you. First and foremost, find what you do best, not what is easiest, not what you like the best, what you do the best. Then you find a way to do it differently from anyone else. Completely, totally, absolutely original. And then you have to stay better than all the copycats that are going to come behind. Whoa, what advice. I was learning so much. This was an amazing time. Well, we got the whole show put up. Everybody's just so proud of it. It's so beautiful, and now it's opening night. All of us are lining the stairs of this beautiful museum that is very much Greek. It's very Greek, so it has the big dome and the big wide stairs, and we're all standing there in our black tie and our evening dresses, just being the hoi polloi that we all are. You know? And the first limo comes in. And 4 women step out. Each one has a white Afghan hound with a gold lame leash. You think women now look crazy? No, darling. These women were beyond bizarre. They were Warhol's ladies. They looked wild. Now Andy's limo drives up, and he steps out. His hair is spiked. He's got on the black velvet suit and the bow tie and the black cape with the red inside, and that's of course made out of satin. And then he does this, and he's handed those dogs, and he marches up those stairs. I think I was standing there with my mouth open, because as he walked by, he looked at me and he winked, and he went on in. Now I had learned another lesson, a very important one. This is the cream of New Orleans society. This is the money, and New Orleans has a lot of it. He knows everyone in the room that he needs to speak to, and he goes to the ones that are important. I have no idea how much money he made that night. Probably close to $1 million. Got to remember the era. Close to $1 million is a ton of money. He worked the room. Remember that expression. He worked the room. So there I was in my mid-20s, and I learned everything that I needed to know in this microcosmic time about how to be a successful professional fine artist. First and foremost, you do the work. That's where it starts. If you don't have the gift, if you don't have the talent, if you're not willing to do the work, if it's not original, if it doesn't stand out, you're dead in the water. The rest of it's just a waste of time. And that's the simple truth. Second, you've got to do the business. You have to take care of business. Being an artist is like any other person being in a business. If you don't take care of business, you're going to spend your time starving because you didn't manage your money and you didn't know what to do with what you had, and you don't know how to make it. You don't think in terms of making money. And you have to think in terms of making money. Andy understood that. Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci understood it. It's what they fought about, was who made the most money. It's important. It is also how your work is evaluated. How much is it worth? That means how much are you worth? Okay, the other thing that you must know is how to set up an exhibit. I don't care if you're in a gallery and you have to cooperate with gallery owners and other people. You've still got to be in control of your exhibit. If it's a show, every time you do that show, you've got to set it up just right. The lighting, everything around you has to be perfect. The art has to be perfect. All of those things are incredibly important. But first and foremost, it's got to be about you. You do have to be someone that's remembered and noticed. When they see you, they have to go, oh yeah, I remember that person. You can't just vanish away into nothing. And that was, I guess, one of the most important lessons I learned from Andy. I stand out. I just happen to be fortunate that it worked out that way. If I hadn't had this way to stand out, I would have found one, because I understood that about him. Find a way to stand out, but stand out in a positive way. Stand out in a way that people want to talk to you. They want to be around you. They want to be with you, because that's how you get the opportunity to sell them your art. This is so important for you to do. And I guess the last thing I'm going to say is clients. Who are they? What do they mean? From the person who walks into your space and goes, oh, I love that little bunny, and picks it up for $30, to the patron that walks in and goes, I have decided that I want this original, or I want to commission you to do this original for amounts of money that are scary. Each one of those people is a treasure. How much they love your work is what feeds you. Michelangelo was one of my mentors, and there's a story about him when he did the David. That huge monumental statue was placed in the square, and he wrapped himself in a cloak at night, because the people were going to come and either put black sticky pieces of cloth on that statue or white ones. If they were black, they didn't like it. If they were white, they did. The Weavers' Union in Milan had paid him 10,000 gold ducats to build that statue. Okay, he had the stature, but he wrapped himself in that cloak, because what the common man thought was the most important thing to him. And when he woke up in the morning and the statue was white, he wept. I have had people walk in my gallery that had no money. They had nothing. And they would look at my work and weep. And I would weep. That's why you do it. This is what it's for. This is what art is in the end and in the essence. All of that other set aside. All of that other set aside. When one person is moved, you have succeeded. You've changed their life forever. And that's, in the end, why you do it. And if you're not doing it for that reason, then there's nothing I can do to help you.